Hello, guys, gals, and non-binary pals.
Welcome to another episode of Lighthouse at the Lakes. Today's episode, we actually said we were going to do celebrity charts at the end of the last episode, but we're kind of taking a different direction. And today's episode is actually going to be reading the chart of our podcast, and we'll sort of go over like how to read a chart as far as the basics go. If you do want a full birth chart reading, you can go onto our Instagram, book with her, and she will talk about your personal chart, but this should give you kind of a basic idea on how to read it. And then later on we'll be looking at my chart and her chart. So,
Yes. Get to know the podcast, get to know us.
Yeah.
Get to know what a birth chart reading looks like.
Yeah. So, first order of business, what are you drinking today?
I'm still drinking my coffee, and she makes fun of me because I put salt in my coffee. So I make coffee with a pour over, and I put coconut oil in it, and I put salt in it, and honey, and cream. And that is what I'm drinking. What are you drinking?
Well, we have an espresso machine, so I have made a homemade white chocolate mocha iced latte with just white chocolate mocha sauce and the espresso and oat milk, because cow's milk is not for me.
It was actually really cute. We went and got the espresso machine together.
Yeah.
One morning. I feel like it was like our first roommate outing together when we went to Target and we played and got ourselves an espresso machine.
We were so we're so quick about it too. Like, I was like, dang, I wish we had an espresso machine, and then it was like 10 minutes later.
We're going to get it.
Yeah.
It has been ordered. We are picking it up. This is ours. We shall have it.
Yes. And I love it, and Evan uses it every day.
I know, and he was the one that was like least into getting it.
Yeah.
And he probably uses it the most.
I think so.
Which I love.
Yeah, me too.
It's wonderful.
Yeah. But, okay, well, the chart of the Lighthouse at the Lakes, it was born April 19th, 2021 at 3:08 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time.
That's when I got the email from Anchor
Aww.
saying, it is happening. But we actually didn't get the YouTube out until a couple days later because, it was our first time.
Yeah.
So it was a learning curve on figuring out where to upload and download and where I needed to make space on my computer because I didn't have it.
Yes.
And then it kept canceling itself.
But now we know. So
Now we know.
now YouTube video episodes of the podcast should come out on Mondays.
Yes, we be learning.
Yeah.
I think we're there. So to go over this podcast chart, the Lighthouse at the Lakes chart.
Yeah.
I think usually the best place to start is with the sun. And very, very intentionally, we made this podcast sun sign a Taurus. And it's in the 9th house, which is actually ruled, I believe the 9th house is ruled by Sagittarius. And so to be in Taurus and be in the 9th house is kind of interesting because it creates a situation where it's like very grounded, but it's also very exploratory. So if you think about like the archetypes behind a Sagittarius, it's very freedom loving, exploratory, very into oh my gosh, metaphysics and learning about just learning about like the occult, just learning about anything.
Yeah.
Just
Adventure.
Adventure.
Moving forward.
Yeah. So it's interesting to have it in a fixed sign, but also have it in a running sign, if that makes sense.
Yeah. As in, like,
You're in the
consistently, strongly, passionately moving forward.
Yes. And I like that.
Yeah, me too.
I love that for our baby podcast.
Yes, it is just a baby podcast. We've got the one episode out right now.
The one episode.
Oh, actually, before we continue, did you want to talk about the full moon?
The full moon?
Yeah.
So, we're recording this on a different day, but the day that this gets released will be Monday the 26th. And Monday the 26th, we have a full moon in Scorpio. And how that applies to you would be kind of dependent on your chart and where your rising sign is. So like you would look at what house the full moon is in, and that would give you a lot in terms of like what to focus on. And full moons are all about letting go. It's about shining the light on the things that you need to kind of clear out. It's like when so where we work, we have to sweep the floors.
Yeah.
And at nighttime, which would feel more like a new moon, where it's really, really dark, it's really hard to see all the dust on the floor. But then in the morning, when it's like the sun is shining in, you can see everything the person from night missed.
Yep.
And that's what a full moon is like. It's like seeing every little speck of dust. It just shines the light on all the stuff that you need to sweep up.
That's beautiful.
And being
I really
in
love that
Scorpio.
analogy.
Thank you. I just came up with it.
Oh, beautiful.
Being in Scorpio, though, it is going to be very, I guess sort of like, I would say moody in a sense, but also very much about getting in tune with yourself and like inside of you. If you know what shadow work is, it would be a good shadow work moon, in my opinion. And yeah.
So happy full moon, people.
Happy full moon.
But okay, so yes, Sun in Taurus, which was very intentional, as in like we did not post a podcast earlier because it would have been in Aries. And if you've seen our first episode, you know how we feel about the Arieses.
All of our Aries slander.
All of the Aries. There was somebody who commented on our TikTok and said, other than the Aries slander, knife emoji. And it's just like, man, you just pulled a knife out on me. Like, I'm just saying, you're using the knife emoji.
We both got our hand on it. Just saying.
Just saying. No. We love the comments like that. They make us laugh, and we love that you guys are engaging. So regardless of if you're an Aries or not, we appreciate you and your comments and your likes and your subscriptions.
Also, when you are an Aries, we love you too.
Yeah. Like I said at the beginning, you can be a good or bad person no matter your sign, which we will actually get into at a later episode where we talk about when we do talk about celebrity charts, we'll touch on some celebrities we love as well as some problematic influencers that we may know of right now. And
that she knows of, because I live under a rock and I don't know anything.
She said, "Who's James Charles?"
Sure did. And then she showed me a picture and I knew.
Yeah.
Right? Was that the one?
Yeah, it was the one. Yeah. But yeah, so you can use your sign for good or for evil, but yeah, so
Moon. Our podcast's moon is in Cancer.
Yeah.
In the 11th house.
Yeah.
In the 11th house. I kind of forget what the 11th house is, honestly. But the moon being in Cancer is really cool because Cancer is ruled by the moon, so it's at home there. What is the 11th house?
You can look it up real quick.
Can I?
Yeah.
Can I? I'm gonna.
Do it. Look it up real quick, and we'll get that sorted.
I feel like the 1st through the 6th house I'm like very on point with.
Yeah.
And I know what the 12th house is, but okay. 11th house. Goals and objectives. Also friendships and membership in groups or associations.
Aha! That's beautiful.
Yeah, so it's us creating like a society.
And it's right at home in the society. So if you're here with us, you are right at home.
Yes.
That's what our moon in Cancer means. This chart really is perfect for the podcast, to be honest.
So far, I love the Virgo rising too.
Yeah, because I'm a Virgo rising.
I know.
And remember when we were talking a little bit about how like we're very much like she and I are very much like opposites almost, and how I'm like the sun and you're like the moon.
Yeah.
So we have the sun and moon in this podcast.
You made it awesome because I was like, yeah, we work really well together because you're like sunshine and I'm like moonshine.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we also, one of our friends compared us to Teen Titans, where I'm Raven and you're Starshine. So
is that her name?
Light?
I don't know. I
Butchering
only knew
it.
Raven from Teen Titans because I had a big crush on Raven. Oh well.
That's fair. So a rising sign is always going to be in the first house. And the first house is the I am house, and it's ruled by Aries, and it's like how you show up in the world.
Yeah.
So the Mercury is in Taurus in the 9th house. And I think that that's really neat because, so Mercury is about how you communicate, and it's also linked to like messenger kind of stuff. So to have a Mercury in Taurus is like a very grounded type of communication. And I like that because I feel like with you and I, it's a very, it's just like a conversation.
Yeah.
And I think that that's really beautiful.
Yeah, nothing is ever nothing's ever personal, you know? And we both like recognize that and acknowledge that like if you have a suggestion, you know, it's not going to hurt me, or if I have a suggestion, it's not going to hurt you, because we both just want what's best for the podcast, and we both like bouncing ideas off of each other.
Yeah. 9th house. Was that the one? Did I get something wrong, or am I correct? Okay, correct. I got worried. Okay, so it's in the 9th house, which is it's the same thing as the sun. So it's grounded, but also philosophical and moving.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is really good because we want to move through like a lot of topics in a very grounded fashion.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it is a lot of very philosophical topics.
Yeah. 100%.
That we're running into.
Yeah, because there's definitely people who would try and say that anything that we talk about in any of these podcast episodes is not true or accurate. But I think, like, that's wrong.
Yeah, I would call it pseudoscience.
Yeah.
Which, like, psychology is actually a pseudoscience.
Yeah.
Which makes me sort of sad. But because it's like a fake science, basically.
Yeah.
But it's also not fake, and it is it's just hard to have the like scientific method with psychology or with astrology and make it proof, like hard proof. It's hard to get hard proof on a lot of the things that we talk about. But I think that a lot of it is also still very relatable and things that are important.
Yeah, because you can't really see like people, you know? It's so hard to see, like, because you know you can cut somebody in half and see, you know, their organs and the brain, and that is a science because that you can look at it and touch it and it's tangible. But psychology, mental health, and anything that we talk about in this podcast is not, it's so hard to test as far as like factual, because it like goes off of belief but also goes off of experience, and people can lie and people can do whatever they want, so it's so hard to test for that.
And there's always outliers, and we can just get like general information. You know, like with the pseudoscience, you can't say this is like this always, ever. All right, so we went over Mercury and Venus.
Did we go? I don't think we went over Venus. Oh, you did.
We're about to go over Venus. I'm saying, and Venus, let's go over Venus now.
I see. I thought you were telling me we went over Mercury and Venus, and I was like, whoa, did I just black out for a second there? What happened?
Venus also, Taurus, 9th house. Venus is all about, like, it's the material, I'm not sure if I said this in the last episode, but when I think Venus, I think Aphrodite. When I think Venus, I think of laying in a chair, eating grapes, being fanned with giant leaves, and shirtless men.
Or women.
For me, it's men.
Yeah.
Actually, I would definitely let women fan me.
Yeah.
With big leaves.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
That would work.
Women are such ethereal creatures. God, they're beautiful. But yeah.
So you think about that type of energy, and you think about Taurus in the 9th house. It's how it's very loving energy. And the way I would put this with our podcast is like how we want to show you guys love and how we want to be loved back, if that makes sense. In a grounded, philosophical, open it up, let's talk about it, let's explore it type of way, but also in a very grounded, earthy, because we're both earth signs.
Yeah.
Sense.
Like going through and liking everybody's comment that commented on our first video, because there was a lot. There was almost 200 comments, and I read every single one of them because I just wanted to express that this podcast is here to communicate with you guys and to have conversations, which is kind of why I'll probably mention this at the end, but we did start a Patreon. And one of the tiers includes a Discord chat with us.
What is Discord?
So Discord is like it started as like a chat for like gamers, but it's just essentially a chat where you can like get invited, you can get included into like certain groups, and you can have different branches within the groups. So like if we had somebody invited to the Discord chat, there would be a separate like astrology tab and like an empath tab and whatever like other tabs we wanted to have, so that people could go into that specific tab and talk with all of the other Discord members about that specific topic. And with us being there too, like we want to answer questions, we want to constantly be in communication with you guys, because you are what makes this podcast, you know, like we make it, but if there's nobody watching, it's like a tree falling in the forest and no one's there to hear it.
Yeah.
So
I'd also really love to have people in there who could answer questions that we can't.
Yeah.
Because by no means do either of us think we're all knowing.
Yeah. I don't know about you. I am all knowing.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Capricorn Virgo rising.
I'm all knowing.
Yeah, right. She knows everything, actually.
But yeah, so I think the Taurus in the 9th house definitely implies that like we are here for you guys as much as we want you guys to be here for us and watching all of the episodes, even if like, you know, say you love astrology but like crystals aren't your thing and you still watch the crystal podcast, we'd love that. We would love to see you guys everywhere all the time.
Basically, we're trying to convert people into liking astrology crystals. That's not true. If you don't like it, you don't like it, and that's okay. But if you do, then, you know, that's why we're here.
Yeah. Thank you.
That's that.
That's that.
Mars and Gemini in the 10th house. Mars and Gemini in the 10th house. 10th house. What is the 10th house? I'm telling you, after the 6th house, I'm just confused. I'm gonna look. Gemini. So Mars and Gemini. We talked about Mars a little bit in the last podcast, but it is all about like war. Mars is the god of war. In Greek mythology, it's Aries. War. So Mars is a lot about like what you're passionate about, and I think anger and passion go hand in hand. So to have it in Gemini is like to be, I would call it balanced, and I would also call it manipulative. So to like the way that you would fight would be sort of manipulative.
This podcast, not me.
No, not you. I'm just looking at you for like some kind of confirmation.
Yeah. I think that what?
I know this.
Yeah.
I know this. Okay, so the 10th house is your career.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess like we're not trying to manipulate you into liking this podcast, but
No, but I think it's more just about like saying that we will use either love or fire to fight for this podcast, for this passion that we have for the podcast. Like I just think that we will use any means necessary to show you guys that we love what we're doing and that this podcast is as good and just is what it needs to be, you know?
Yeah. It just went through my mind that we're passionate about this, and no matter how anybody else were to come at that, one of my favorite, I think it was Amber Khan, and she was talking about Geminis, and she goes, depending on how you come out of Gemini, they got a twin for that.
Yeah. 100%.
I'm not trying to be scary, but we got a twin for that.
Yeah. Like, we both have just, I think you and I are both, like, very strong as far as, like, if we do get hate, which we've had the privilege of not having any right now. But if there was somebody to comment on all of our videos saying, this isn't real or whatever, like, it's just not going to faze us, because this passion will not die no matter what. And I think that that's what the Gemini in the 10th house in Mars is saying for this podcast.
I like that.
I like you.
I like you. Jupiter in Aquarius in the 6th house. I remember, okay, I saw this earlier. I just got really excited. Because Jupiter and Saturn, I'm going to go over them both at the same time. Jupiter and Saturn are both in Aquarius and both in the 6th house. And Aquarius is all about creating community. And it's also very much about being an individual while creating community. And I really, really love that, because like we're us.
Yeah.
No one can make the podcast we're making. There's a lot of people putting out really great content on everything that we are talking about and everything that we're gonna talk about, but they're not gonna do it like we do it.
Right.
And they're not gonna create communities like we're creating community. And that's very Aquarius. And being in the 6th house is all about like how you serve the world. And I love that.
Yeah.
Because like one of my goals always has been to be able to serve the world, and I guess trying to help people get to know themselves better.
Yeah.
And I think astrology does that. And so Saturn and Jupiter. So Jupiter is very much about luck. It corresponds with the Wheel of Fortune in tarot. And then Saturn is very much about responsibilities and like, I guess, time management in a way. And Jupiter also in Greek mythology is Zeus.
Yeah.
And then Saturn is Kronos, and I mean, like, Kronos ate all of his children. But
we will not consume any of the people who listen to this podcast.
No, and we will also not consume our podcast, because this is our baby.
Yes.
And we don't want to eat it.
No.
Also,
No.
I don't know how we would eat it.
I don't either.
But Saturn is very much about, like, your responsibilities in the world and how you show up for them. So to have a situation where it's like a Wheel of Fortune situation where it's like feeling like we're doing exactly what we need to be doing, and the more we do it, the more luck we have with it.
Yeah.
I love that. And then also having Saturn and being like in Aquarius, and it's like you are going to settle down into being who you need to be, and you're going to use that to serve others. Oh, I love it. I love that.
I know.
Uranus.
Uranus.
Not Uranus.
Uranus.
My anus?
Uranus.
A lot of astrologers, and I totally get it, but they say Uranus.
No.
You
Or
know,
Uranus.
Uranus.
I hate that one too.
I don't know. Like, I grew up on Uranus.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It's just a planet.
Yeah, it's just a planet.
Only a planet.
And a butt.
No.
No.
No, because
Not
that's
a
just an anus.
Not your anus.
Whatever.
I'm sorry. I'm a child. I will never.
One of us is older. And it's not me. But yes, Uranus is in Taurus in the 9th house.
Yet again, another Taurus. This wasn't on purpose to have so many things in Taurus. The sun was like the goal.
Yeah.
We just wanted the sun in Taurus. That's all we were asking for. But we have so many things in Taurus.
Yeah.
And Uranus being in Taurus, as I was explaining to you earlier, I think of Saturn and I think of Uranus as different types of dads.
Yeah.
Like astrological dads. And I see Saturn as a very strict type of father who, you know, if you put the penny in the outlet, he'll whoop your butt.
Yeah.
And then I see your Uranus is the type of father that, you know, he's just chilling in a robe and like drinking his coffee, and he sees you going to put a penny in the outlet, and he's like, I'll just let him do it.
Yeah.
He'll learn his own lesson.
Yeah.
And Uranus is very much about like electricity and like moving forward to get to like the broad new horizon and doing things very differently.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really interesting because that creates, having Uranus in Taurus in the ninth house creates a really interesting and a triangle in my mind where the Taurus of it all is like, no, we don't want to move.
Yeah.
We don't want to change it. We don't want to change it. We want it to be what it is. And this podcast is going to change a lot over time.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, we're learning and we're putting it together. But also to have it, Uranus in it, and then in the ninth house, I think gives us more of an energy of moving forward and being cool with the changes that are going to happen.
Yeah. And I think it also puts sort of an emphasis on the idea that the changes that are going to happen are only going to happen when we're confident that they're the best change. When we're confident that they're the most positive change and they're the best thing to do for the podcast, that's when we're comfortable with the change of it.
Yeah.
Like, for example, we don't have my podcast microphone because it's at a house where the people have COVID. So that may come a little bit later, but you know, when that does happen, our audio quality is going to go up, and you know.
Well, and also the idea that we were able to adjust when we didn't have the mic. We figured it out.
Yeah.
Did something different.
Mm-hmm.
Even though we really wanted the mic.
We did. We really wanted it. I wanted the mic less. I would rather not have the mic than have COVID. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I would rather not have the mic than wait to start.
Yeah, exactly. 'Cause
until that microphone is COVID free.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that's like a big thing too. Is like if we had waited, then this chart wouldn't be like, it wouldn't be this chart. You know, we still would have had the sun in Taurus, but who knows about the rest of the things. And that's sort of what I think is like beautiful about charts, is that like whether you're a preemie baby or you were born late, like you were still born destined into the chart that you have. And that's why I love looking at this Lighthouse the Lakes chart podcast, because it like we get to really see that this podcast was destined to be what it is.
Exactly what it is, and it's so beautiful.
So
and I love
beautiful.
this chart. It's just, it's a good chart,
Yeah.
but
All right, Neptune.
Okay, Neptune is in Pisces in the 7th house, and that's aces. Except it could make it a little too dreamy. So Neptune rules Pisces, and Neptune and Pisces are very dreamy. It's when I picture Neptune, I picture like, for some reason what's always in my mind is some kid sitting in the classroom, not paying any attention to the teacher and just fully daydreaming, just way off somewhere else. And that's what I think of when I think of Neptune. And a shadow side to Pisces is having all these like lofty dreams but not moving on them. And so what makes it nice to have it in the 7th house, because the 7th house is all about partnerships. And it's also a serving house, like how we serve. But it creates, for me, it's our partnership. The Olivia and Mallory partnership, and what we both bring to the table. And the idea is dreamy and lofty.
And so are the topics that we're talking about.
Yeah, exactly, which I love.
Yeah.
But our partnership, I believe, grounds it. At least to a capacity, because all of these things need to be kind of dreamy, because dreamy's beautiful.
Yeah.
And we should all dream, and I love that.
And this started as a dream. It started as an idea that we just made.
Yeah,
We just did
last Monday when you
Yeah.
were like, do you want to start a pod? She texted me, do you want to start a podcast? Sure, we can do a podcast. What would their podcast be about? All of these things. Okay. Next morning, I wake up. She's like, we have everything.
I really did just go up and I was like, cool, let's make a list of all of the topics. And we planned out like almost 2 years worth of podcast episode ideas that we have. And we're so excited about all of them. We have certain guests planned already. We just, like, it was a dream, but the rest of this chart has grounded this dream into being what it is. And I think that's beautiful.
Yeah, and the way that everything just fell into place the way that it did.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me feel like it's exactly what we should be doing. And I love it. And I'm
Yes,
happy.
ma'am.
And I like doing this.
And we really want to do this for a living. So really, like, join the Patreon.
Patreon.
Anyways.
Pluto in Capricorn in the 5th house.
I love Capricorns.
I know you do. You are a Capricorn.
Yeah.
So Pluto, and not technically a planet anymore, but it is in my heart in Capricorn. So that is kind of a grounded situation, because when I think of Pluto, I think of shadow work. So everything that's behind our podcast that I don't think we're there yet, but the more we get to know our podcast, the more we're going to want to look at like what's behind it. And for me, Pluto in Capricorn in the 5th house for us is keeping it creative and genuine.
Yeah.
And because the 5th house is all about like creativity and just moving on to the next phase.
Mm-hmm.
So to be able to, when I look at Pluto and Capricorn in the 5th house, I'm thinking about the moments that we're going to need to take where we make sure we're coming from the most authentic, genuine place.
Right. Yeah, we really don't want to ever feel like we're saying or doing something like as fan service. Like, I would never want to feel like I'm saying something just because I know it's something somebody else wants to hear. And I think that will mainly come when we do the empath episode, because I've seen a lot of comments from people saying that they are an empath, and I have seen several of those comments from people who I know are not. And we'll talk about that in the empath episode, but yeah, I don't ever want to just tell somebody something or tell any of you guys anything that isn't genuine to us.
Yeah. Just because we think or know you want to hear it. Yeah. It's the same way with tarot readings.
Mm-hmm.
It's a disservice to hold back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, I mean, I feel like if you want an empath reading, or you wanted a tarot reading, or you wanted a birth chart reading, you really need to be ready for the truth.
Yeah. Especially from me. If you get an empath reading from me, which you can DM us on Instagram. I don't really have a book now button yet, but you can DM us and I can do that for you. And I'll have this little sucker, lollipop, and I will just eat that while I tell you things that you may not want to hear, but you signed up for it, and it will help you, regardless of how you feel about it. It will help you.
She told me things I didn't want to hear, and I didn't sign up for. It's completely untrue, otherwise I wouldn't have opened the conversation.
Yeah.
But it's so beautiful, and it's so helpful.
Yeah, it really did work for you.
It really...
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
My empath reading to you was probably my favorite so far that I've ever done.
I mean, it was mine.
Aw, thank you.
I don't know what I have to compare it to.
Yeah. But yeah, I really love telling people about what I see in them and what's coming for them. So,
Chiron. Chiron isn't talked about a whole lot. Chiron is the wounded healer. And we have Chiron and Aries in the 8th house. So when you think of Chiron, you think of, the way I think of it is sort of the things that have happened to you that may put you in a place to be able to help others. So to have that in Aries, the way I see that for our podcast is very much like a taking charge with the things that we know and the things that we've experienced to try to help others.
Yeah.
And to have it in the 8th house, that's going to be our sex magic episode. To have it in the 8th house brings it down to kind of a inner component thing. So the goal is, it's sort of like aggressively getting to know yourself.
Yeah.
And it's us and our podcast aggressively trying to get you to know yourself.
Yeah.
That's the way I see that.
Yeah.
So
I
that
would agree.
is our podcast chart.
That is our podcast chart. So hopefully, you guys listening out there sort of understand like sort of a basic idea of what you're looking at when you read your chart. So very, we can sort of, we're going to look through our charts now. We probably won't get into the houses, but we can talk about what sign we have in each of our planets. Do you, let's start with you.
With me?
Now. Yeah.
With me? Okay. I think I know all of mine by heart. So I know my sun is in Virgo. We've had
talked
that
about that. Yep.
my moon is in Aquarius. We've talked about that.
Yep.
Woody Allen's moon is in Aquarius too, and John Lennon.
Oh, nice.
I really am fond of my moon in Aquarius. Our next episode is actually going to be about the moon, and I'm really excited about that because like the moon is my favorite.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that.
Like, the moon means so much to me, and there's just so much around the moon, so much mythology, and so many just so much, and I love it.
Well, so why don't you talk about why you love the fact that Aquarius is in your moon?
And that's why I love the moon. Why I love that Aquarius is in my room, because it makes me sort of detached, in a sense.
Yeah.
Because to have that mixed with my Cancer rising, I think is really, really good, because I am able to care for people, and that's where the Cancer rising comes in. But having my moon in Aquarius gives me the ability, I see my moon in Aquarius as like black tourmaline. It gives me the ability to detach from the things that I don't want to be attached to.
Yeah.
And I think that's also why I come off very emotionally detached in a lot of ways. But again, to come back to the Cancer rising, I like the mix, because I am emotional. I'm not like full on psychopath, but I can choose to not feel things.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that
usually.
Yeah, I was going to say that I think that if that does happen and you sort of don't have that under control, I think that's when you feel the most out of control.
Yeah, I feel like I'm spiraling.
Yeah. And I think that is probably somewhere else in your chart that you can see that that's where some of those hang-ups are. But
that would be in Pluto. Yeah, Pluto and Scorpio. My Pluto's in Scorpio. So it gets dark.
Yeah. Yeah.
Put it that way.
Yeah. You respond to when something doesn't align in your chart, you respond by becoming very sort of dark within yourself about it. It's very hard for you to come out of. But I think that's very rare for you.
Yeah, and I'm also I believe I'm good at not showing it unless I'm sitting next to an empath.
People just tell me things too, I have always been told that I am so easy to just tell stuff to. I've had other people tell me that without even them knowing I'm an empath. They're like, you're so easy to just tell stuff to.
I think I didn't tell you stuff to you for a long time because I knew once I started I wouldn't be able to stop.
Yeah. And you're not. But that's okay. That is okay. But yeah.
We went a long while, because it was after we had started living together when she told me that she felt like I knew a lot about her, but she didn't know a whole lot about me, because I don't talk about myself to people.
But I also felt like I didn't know a whole lot because of the interactions that we'd had. you know, empathically, I had a feeling of you and who you were, and then the conversations and things you would tell me were sort of closed off and not aligned with that. And so I was like, okay, I don't know a lot about you because because what you're giving to me is not what I'm feeling from you.
Huh. That's interesting.
That's the same. That's like the same with like Anthony.
Mm-hmm.
Is like, I just know that Anthony is a big old teddy bear.
Yeah.
But he will never, ever, ever admit to it or show any signs of being a teddy bear.
Not on purpose.
You know what happened last night? I was closing with Anthony last night. And he was just dissing on me all night, which is funny because that's just how he is. He'll just sort of do that. So I looked at him and I was just looking at him for a while and he was like, what? And I was like, I'm waiting for you to say something nice to me. And he goes, don't hold your breath. And I was like, Anthony! That's so mean. But then he was like, good job tonight. And I was like, yeah, every night, but thank you. But yeah, so that's why I felt that way about you. It's like, I was like, I know that like you were still being genuine with me, but you weren't opening up enough for me to be like, yes, this is the inner Mallory.
This is why.
Yeah.
Did you know what my room looked like?
Oh yeah.
Does my room look like you thought my
Oh
room,
yeah.
or felt my room?
Oh
looked
yeah.
like?
Oh yeah. Your bathroom too.
Oh yeah.
The first time I went in your bathroom, I was like, this is Mallory's bathroom. Yeah, that's a really big thing with me, like, particularly, I don't know if every empath is like this, but me particularly, I get an image of how people's, like, room looks and how they live their life. And so, yeah, 100%, I knew exactly what your room looked like. I mean, I feel like anybody watching could also look at you and have a pretty good guess on what your room looks like. We could do room tours.
Messy.
In the Q&A, we'll do room tours. That'd be cute. Yeah.
Should clean.
Oh, which reminds me, actually, at the end of this season, we are doing a Q&A. It can be about us. It can be anything related to astrology or any of the podcast episodes, and we will just do one episode where we answer all of your questions on that.
Yes. Yes.
But, yeah. So your Mercury is in Virgo.
Yeah, so I think that's why it takes me so long to talk sometimes, or I'll take a long pause because I'm really putting together what I'm trying to say, and I want it to come out very like clear and precise and organized. And if I don't take a moment to think about what I'm going to say, I end up going blah, 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 blah.
Quite literally. I have heard you just talk to me like that.
Yeah. I know.
But that's great. I love it. So, and then your,
My Mercury, and then my Venus
is in
is
Leo.
in Leo.
Yeah.
I'm looking at like a totally different chart
Yeah,
on the
we'll
computer.
just,
I'm like,
I'll
my
just
Venus
close
is in Leo. My Venus being in Leo, I like compliments. But
You deserve them.
yes, but with my sun being in Virgo, I believe, and my moon being in Aquarius, I will not ask for them.
I do. I don't
I
fish for compliments. Like, I won't do that thing where I'm like, I hate myself.
Yeah, no,
I'm
you're just
actually-
like compliment me.
I literally have said that. I'm like, come tell me I'm pretty.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But yeah, that's my Venus in Leo is like,
Yeah.
I want to be worshipped. Quite frankly.
Quite frankly, I believe you deserve it.
Thank you, but
Yeah.
I'll never admit to a partner that that's what I want, and when they do it, I feel weird, but I love it.
Mars in Libra.
Mars in Libra. Oh yeah, that's why I'm so good at. I'm a really good moderator.
Oh yeah.
When other people are fighting, I've done this more than once. I'm very good at like solving a fight between two people, and it's because I have that balance. I can see both sides of it, and I can see how passionate someone is about like what they're fighting about, and I'm very passionate about what other people are passionate about, so I can definitely devil's advocate it, and then I can bring it to a center.
Yeah.
And be like, so what I'm hearing from you is this, and what I'm hearing from you is this, and what we can do with that is this.
Yep.
And that's my Mars. That's how I fight.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't get into fights.
Yeah. Yeah, we have not I don't even think we haven't even been in like a small. I don't think I've ever been upset with you, actually. I don't think so.
I'm not. I mean, yeah, I've never been upset with you either.
Yeah. We've known
That
each
would be
other for a
news
while.
to me if you
Yeah.
had been upset with me.
Yeah, remember that one time when you put a cheese on the ground?
What?
No, I'm just making stuff
Oh.
up.
It's like I put cheese on the ground all the time. Out of context, that sounds really weird. We work in a restaurant,
Yeah.
and I wipe the board and get cheese on the floor. I'm not just running around in my everyday life throwing cheeses on the floors.
Cheese. Here's a cheese. Here's another cheese.
I put them on the floor.
Yeah. Okay, so your Jupiter's in Virgo and your Saturn is in Aquarius.
My Jupiter's in Virgo. I've never actually really sat and thought about my Jupiter in Virgo. That is interesting, though. My Jupiter in Virgo, in my mind, would be very much about... Oh, okay. There it is. Hello. I don't like to start doing things that I think are important until they're perfect. And that's why I don't start doing things. And that's why it took this one to start doing this podcast. Because I woke up and it was perfect. And...
Well, because really, like, Virgo is mutable, right?
Yeah.
They're the finishers.
No,
No?
we're the ones who can just vibe.
Oh, yes,
With
that's
whatever's
right.
going
That's
on.
right. I remember now. Yeah, so I think that, like, yeah, so I think, like, me initiating it, but also then you sort of took that idea and ran with it. Like, I was like, okay, here's what I have now. And you were like, yes, great, here's more, because I like the way you're doing this.
Yeah.
So I think that's really where the Jupiter in Virgo is coming,
Yeah.
is like, yes,
My
I
wheel
like what
just
you're
turns
doing.
a little slower because I'm want it to be nice before it's started.
Yeah.
My Saturn in Aquarius, which is okay. So here's the thing. Saturn currently is in Aquarius right now. And what happens is I recently had my Saturn return. And your Saturn return happens like every 28 to 29 years.
Wow.
Because Saturn is so slow to move to transit, to move into the next sign,
Yeah.
that it takes that long for your Saturn to come back to where it was when you were born. And that's your Saturn return. And there's actually a No Doubt album. It's the one that's like all spacey and she's got the pink hair.
Oh, yeah.
The Return of Saturn. That
Yeah.
album is called The Return of Saturn. So I listened to that a lot when I had my Saturn return. To me, it was very on point. But what happens with your Saturn return, and I've witnessed it with other people too, is we just said this, right? Saturn is the very strict dad.
Yep.
And you get your Saturn return. Saturn comes back to where it was when you were born. And then Saturn comes through and is like, are you happy? Are you doing what you want to be doing? Oh, you don't like your job? You're fired. Oh, you don't like your boyfriend? He's not your boyfriend anymore.
Yeah.
And that's just what happens. And sometimes it's to bring it back to tarot, if you know anything about tarot, it's a very Tower moment. And it's when people feel like their life is falling apart. But it's only falling apart so that you can create the space to make things better. And I think that a lot of people lose sight of that, and now their life is falling apart.
Yep.
And they don't build it back up. And also, if you have the ability and the time to know your Saturn return is coming, you can prepare for it so that it's not such a gut punch. Because mine was, internally it was hard, but on the surface it ran pretty smooth.
Yeah.
For me.
That's great. I don't know when mine is.
I'll keep you informed.
Okay.
You got a while. You have like a few years.
Really?
Yeah. I think your Saturn's in Capricorn. Let's go to yours.
You don't want to do the rest?
Oh, I already talked about my Pluto.
You didn't talk about your Uranus, Neptune,
Oh.
or...
I talked about my
Just do
Uranus
your
and-
Uranus and Neptune, because you did talk about your ascendant and your Pluto already.
Yes, okay. My Uranus and Neptune.
both in Capricorn.
They're both in Capricorn. My Uranus being in Capricorn is kind of an oxymoron in the sense that it's, as I described, Uranus is very much like, let's innovate. And then my Capricorn is like, okay, we're going to innovate, but we're going to do it right. We're not going to play with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's a fun thing about Uranus is it's very playful. But the Capricorn is like, no, we're not going to play. We're going to innovate, but we're going to do it step by step, and we're going to make sure that it's happening correctly.
Yeah.
And then my Neptune being in Capricorn, I mean, kind of same thing is, and I'm actually pretty grateful for it because when I describe Neptune being in Pisces, it's very dreamy.
Yeah.
So my dreamy energy is grounded in Capricorn. So when actually, yeah, that every time I see something I want to do, I do it.
Yeah.
I saw a burlesque show. I started doing burlesque. I went and saw roller derby. I started doing roller derby. Like, I think that that's what grounds me into actually trying all of the things that I want to try.
All of the things.
All of the things.
So, okay. My chart.
Olivia's chart.
Yeah. So, we did talk a little bit about my sun in Capricorn.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm very,
Correct.
very, very, like, black and white. Very much, like, rules apply. I love rules. But I do only love rules when I think they're fair. Because my judgment is the best, right? Because that's what my signs are. Is that I do firmly believe that I have a very good stronghold on what I believe is a fair rule and what's not a fair rule. But yeah, so my sun in Capricorn definitely means that.
Yeah, but I remember when I did your birth chart reading, we were talking about that in correlation with something else happening in your chart.
Yeah.
And I think that it was your, Uranus in Aquarius and your Mars in Aquarius. Because that Aquarius energy is very much about it's personalized.
Yeah.
So because you have that Aquarius energy mixed with the Capricorn, it is very much like, if I do believe in this, then I will follow these rules to a T. And if I don't, then I'm going to smash them.
Yeah, because, like, fair rules are fair rules. Another example, Anthony last night. Okay, so we had a regular come in, brought me some Jolly Ranchers. We've been wearing masks, right? Usually, since we work in food, we're not allowed to have any sort of candy or gum in our mouths because it produces excess saliva. Totally fair. Right now we have masks, right? I could hawk a loogie. I could sneeze. I could cough. I could do anything, and as gross as it is, it's only gonna go in my mask. So, like, why couldn't I eat a Jolly Rancher on the line? Why couldn't I eat a Jolly Rancher while I make food? And so it's like, absolutely that is a fair and safe rule when there are no masks, but as of right now, it didn't make any sense to me. So I kind of gave a little pushback at first because I was like, I don't understand why you're telling me no. That doesn't make any sense.
Does not compute.
No. I think I did just kind of look at him for a while. I was like, wait.
Why?
Why is excess spit a problem right now? But I still didn't. I will follow the rules because I don't like being in trouble. But
yeah, my worry would be that, like, if I was trying to talk to somebody, it would just fall out of my mouth.
Into the mask, though.
No, I know, but then it's stuck to your face. For me, it's more of a personal situation where then I have sugar stuck to my face.
Yeah, that's super not fun.
Highly bothersome.
But it's not
I
unsafe.
don't like sticky.
Yeah, I know you don't. But that's not, like, from another person's safety perspective. That just wasn't a factor in my brain. So, but anyway, my moon is in Leo.
Her moon is in Leo,
which makes me super emotional. So, like,
yes, she's emotionally exuberant, if you will.
Yeah.
That was something I was looking at, because our next episode is about moons. I was looking at your moon sign, and it was really interesting to me because it was, with the moon, it's kind of shadow work based in the sense that it's the you that you see.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at Leo too, you have a light side and a dark side. So you're very emotionally like creative, and you are exuberant, and you are sunshine. But you also can be like kind of aggressive and kind of a bully, and it's just both sides of it, you know? And it's the things that our moon sign is what we have to come to terms with in ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think it's so beautiful.
Yeah. And that was actually something I have like done a lot of work on within the past couple of years, is like recognizing that when I'm very like 0 to 100. And that is both on the positive and negative side. And that also is like sort of related to mental health like issues that I had, that I've honestly feel like I've completely worked through. Like maybe not completely, there's still moments, you know, but like for the most part, I can only take it from 0 to 50 if I really want. But yeah, so very much like if something exciting is happening to me, like if Taylor Swift liked one of my tweets, you bet I'd be crying instantly from happiness, you know? Like I just would freak out. I'd tell everybody, and people would just be like, okay, awesome. But I'm like, how do you not see how exciting this is? Like, and so I see a lot of that with my moon in Leo, is that like, it's very much like my emotions are here when they're here. And they'll be so strong, and but it means that I also get to experience some really great joy. And I love that.
Yeah.
So
that's wonderful.
Yeah. My Mercury and Venus are both in Capricorn. I have lots of Capricorn in my chart.
I know, girl. I know. Mercury and Capricorn. I think that's honestly why you're really good at talking, and you're really good at talking fast. And being precise and getting out what you need to say and getting it like, you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
It does.
Like if your job was to talk, hey,
join the Patreon.
Then, like, that's perfect, because that's how you communicate effectively. Yeah. Capricorn is effective.
Yeah. And another thing that I notice with the way that I communicate that I think comes in like to play with that little Capricorn is that like I adjust how I talk based on who I'm talking to. And not only that, but I can sense through my empathic nature if someone doesn't understand the concept I just said. So instead, I'll take this concept, reword it, and say it again in a different way until I see that click, until I'm like, okay, now you understand what I'm saying. And so I'll just like kind of maybe like talk a bit too much, I think sometimes, but I think it's just because I really want to make sure the person I'm talking to understands exactly what I'm saying, and I can recognize that click without them even needing to respond. Mm-hmm. So
otherwise you'll just keep talking until you recognize the click.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, fair and good. But I think that also creates probably a situation where you've said so much that someone's lost in everything you've said. Yeah. Because you've put it so many different ways. Yeah. I would imagine.
Although I think, one of the first, when me and Evan first met, and I asked him sort of like, why do you like me? He said, I like the way you talk to me. And I think that that's really beautiful, because I think that Evan is very much one of those people who needs somebody to say something in a different way until it clicks with him. And then it does. And he's like, you just said the smartest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Oh,
baby! Yeah! And I'm so proud of you, baby! But yeah, so Mercury and Capricorn, I definitely, great communication skills for me, I think I have.
Venus in Capricorn also, I think, is the reason that you are so attracted to Evan. Venus in Capricorn would note that you are like looking for someone who's very stable. Yeah. And someone who, has a Taurus. Yeah. Has a stable job, has a stable income, has their material stuff together. Yeah. And he does. And I think that's part of why y'all work so well. And I would be really curious to know what his Venus is in. When you're looking for love in a birth chart, you want to look at the moon, the Venus, and the Mars. And your Mars in Aquarius, I think, might be a reason why the two of you fight well, because you're never afraid to express what is important to you with him.
Yeah.
And he's receptive to it.
Yeah.
Even if you have to keep telling him, he will end up receptive to it. And you're not afraid to come at him from a point that is almost strange to get your point across.
Yeah. It doesn't at a certain point, if I think something is important enough to me to like I was saying earlier, like I need to have him understand something. If it's important enough, I will make sure that he understands not only the point I'm trying to make, but also exactly how important it is to me.
Yeah.
That way, you know, I don't always get what I want, because he can tell me no until I'm like, no, this is actually a very important thing for you to say yes to. And then he will.
Yeah.
So that's just like a really good balance of like, okay, like how can we find a compromise? And it's just when I start to push back is when he's like, this is actually important. So I will make the adjustment from now on. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it being in Aquarius, your Mars in Aquarius, I think, you know, it's the knowing in you that whatever fight you're going to create, not like fight, but like just, what's the word? Point, altercation, anything that you are going to approach is going to bring the two of you closer together.
Yeah. Yeah. We've only ever gotten stronger as we go through our years, and we are now,
I think you guys are super impressive.
So close to 4 years. Next month it'll be 4 freaking years.
That's a lot.
It is a lot. That's half of what you did with that one person though. But that's what scares me, is that I'm gonna get to like 8 years and then be like, oh no, but I don't think that's gonna happen. No, I really love Evan. So my Jupiter is in Aquarius also.
Yeah, so I would think that the weirder you let yourself be, the more the luck is gonna come in.
I don't like being weird.
But you are weird.
Oh,
I just look weird. You are weird.
Alright. Fair, that's fine.
But like, to me that just shows that the more you are cool with yourself and being exactly who you are within community, the more your wheel will turn and your luck will come in.
Yeah, I feel like I've never really been afraid to be myself.
No, I haven't seen you be afraid to be yourself.
No, it doesn't make sense to me. Why would I not do that? Like,
that's why a lot of things just work out.
Such a waste of time. No.
Yeah, like if I'm not gonna be me, who am I gonna be?
Yeah, that's annoying. That's weird. That's rude. I don't know. I'd be Taylor Swift.
Yeah, you would.
Yes.
I do think she is part of your personality, though.
I do. I think so too. But yeah, I don't know. I think you couldn't really you couldn't hate Taylor Swift and be my friend. Like, you really couldn't. You can be indifferent. You don't have to love her.
I was at least indifferent.
Yeah, but if you like actively like hate Taylor Swift, like you're just not gonna be worth my time.
Yeah. And actively hating somebody who you don't know isn't worth your time. So
Yeah.
if anyone hates Taylor Swift and y'all don't know her.
Anyways, or if you hate Taylor Swift and you know her, like, you're probably the problem.
Oh!
Anyways.
Dang.
No, but it is a really big part of me because so much of how I feel and how I respond to things was based off of what I learned from listening to her music. And so I bring it up a lot because it really just is so rooted in like how I respond and how I believe and how I'm going to handle a situation.
And you relate to it.
Yeah.
On a deep level.
Love her.
Okay, Saturn in Aries.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about this before we started.
About this. What all did I tell you? I read it to you because I thought it was so interesting. So
it was that it was like, you know, I remember. I just don't remember.
Yeah. I remember it being in your 8th house, which
Yeah.
I know we weren't going to talk about houses. But I think it was like kind of how you get close to people. It had something to do with how you get close to people and how... Was there something about your bossiness in it?
No, it was like maybe. I don't really remember. What is
It all just went in.
Yeah, because you talked about Kronos and being the dad, and then
Yeah. So when you're, I mean, the way I would take it off the top of my head is that when your Saturn is in Aries and you are living up to your responsibilities, things take off really fast.
yeah,
And you go at them very hard and very passionately.
yeah,
And that is the light side of Aries.
yes.
I know we just kind of pooped all over Aries in the last episode, but they very much go for what they want.
Yeah. And very passionately. Very just, like, aggressively, like, but, like, aggressive doesn't always have to be a negative
I would
thing.
say that you are aggressive in your responsibilities,
Yeah.
though. When it comes to
Yeah.
your responsibilities, you are aggressive about that.
As I should be. As I should be. Like I was saying earlier, in the last podcast where I said that, like, if I have the time and energy to make sure that everything is up to the highest standard it can be, I don't see why I wouldn't do that.
Yeah. Whereas, like, opposed to my Saturn in Aquarius is kind of more just like, is that chill?
Is that chill?
Like, I'm going to do what's chill.
Yeah.
If that responsibility isn't chill for me, then I'm not going to do it.
But because of your other stuff, like your your ascendant in Virgo and stuff like that, like, you do want it to be perfect and right.
Yeah.
But not to the point where you're gonna stress about it. And I will stress about things.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
But that's the fun thing about charts is, like, you just have all these things that are in conversation with each other all the time.
Yeah. My Uranus is in Aquarius.
Uranus is in Aquarius. I mean, that's perfect. It's right at home.
Yay.
Uranus rules Aquarius. And it is very much like the way I would look at that is when you are ready to learn something new, you'll learn all about something new.
Yeah.
And it's exciting, and you're just excited to learn about new things.
Yeah, and I think we could apply that to this podcast, because, like, before, like, I knew very basic things about signs of people closest to me, but I couldn't tell you about a full chart. I couldn't tell you about all of the signs. I couldn't even have listed off all of the signs if I had wanted to. And now we're here. And it's like I can have a very well-educated conversation about it, because I just was like, I like this. I'm gonna go full force into this.
Yeah.
Same with, like, when I first got hired at Chipotle, like, almost 8 years ago. I was just like, I like rolling burritos. I'm good at this, and I want to own a restaurant that involves burritos, and I love it. And I've been doing burritos for so long, and I'm ready to just have my own. I don't really want to work for anybody anymore. I want to be my own boss, because that's what Capricorns do. But but yeah, so yeah, 100%. I will learn anything I'm passionate about. Anything.
Yeah. And then so you and I both have our Neptune in Capricorn, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the same thing, and it would change depending on what house it would be in. And that's how, like, you having Neptune in Capricorn looks different than my Neptune in Capricorn, depending on what house it's in.
Do you remember what house my Neptune in Capricorn is in?
No.
Oh. Me neither.
But without knowing the house, it is the same thing where it's like you ground your dreams.
Yeah. Yes,
hello.
ma'am.
And here we are.
Yeah, here we are. doing the thing. And then my Pluto's in Sagittarius.
When I think Pluto and Sagittarius, I think that you're running from yourself a lot.
Like, what do you mean by that?
Like, so Pluto is Hades. So when you think of Pluto, it's the deep gook inside of you. And so when I think of Pluto being in Sagittarius, I think of jumping on a horse and running away from it.
Couldn't it also be towards?
It could be. It very well could be.
Because I just feel like, well, because of how much I, like, am confident in being myself, I don't really understand how those would work together if it was away. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's different aspects, and it also depends on the house.
Yeah.
But I guess it's like kind of seeing your deep dark gook in a more philosophical way and kind of detached than fully resonating with it.
Yeah.
Like, you know it's there, and you would be able to talk about it, but not fully resonate with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. And then, did we talk about my ascendant being in Virgo? Like, what that would mean for me?
I don't know. I think we talked about it in the last episode, but
Yeah.
Your ascendant being in Virgo is very much it's how she presents to the world. Your rising and your sun together is mostly how you show up and how other people see you. So together, I mean, if it's Capricorn and Virgo, very grounded, very works really hard, does things well, does things correct. Yeah.
Yeah, that is me. Indeed, that is me. So, and then sort of, I guess, lastly, we kind of wanted to talk about our chart comparisons. And how we work together.
So I've talked about it before, but I like to, my favorite birth chart app is Time Passages, and you can have a compatibility meter, and between her and I, it's funny.
It is funny. It is a little funny.
We're very compatible.
Okay, so we'll just go. So our overall score is an 8, which is great.
8 out of 10.
Yeah. And then sort of long term, it's a 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
Which I love because we talked even before this, we knew we were gonna be friends for life.
That one day I don't even remember where it came from. I feel like it came out of nowhere, and she was just like, I feel like we've gotten to a point in our relationship that I'm just always going to remember you.
Yeah.
You will always at least have been part of my life.
Yeah.
And that was so sweet.
Yeah.
And it made me feel good.
Yeah.
But we got 10 out of 10 for long term. So, I mean.
So we're going to be friends for life.
I think so.
It's just the facts.
Just the facts.
Just the facts.
Oh my God, I'm going to know your kid.
Yeah. We're probably going to babysit my kid. Not even one time.
Girl, I don't
know. No, I'm not talking like baby. But if I got a little 8-year-old and I'm like, hey, no, you don't think my kid would be raised well enough for you to not hate them?
We'll see. We'll have to cross that bridge when we come to it.
Well, you'll at least know them. Maybe you're going to have to interact with them if you want to interact with me at some point.
Well, yeah. But not alone. I don't feel comfortable around kids.
You'd just be like, what do you eat? What do I
they're
give you?
Sticky.
My kid would not be sticky.
They're toothless.
Not always.
I know, but they're just and they're weird.
Yeah, but just imagine my polite little girl sitting down and you're like, do you want some food? And she's like, yes, Miss Mel.
No, I want to hang out with your kids when they're teenagers.
Okay, that's fine. That's still babysitting.
Okay.
Yeah. Career support is 4.
4 out of 10, which is funny because, I don't know, we work really well together.
We do. So, whatever.
And I would also say at work together, we support each other.
Yeah.
Careerly.
Yeah. I think
Actually, that's not our career. That's our job.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Well, it's kind of my career, kind of. Like, it's related, I guess. But home and family is a 5.
5 out of 10, which is funny because we live together and
Yeah.
we live very well together.
Very well together.
But, it could be a 1.
It could be. It's not. It's a 5.
Not. We don't have any 1s.
Yeah.
Our communication is 7 out of 10.
I'd also disagree with that. I think it should be higher.
I kind of get it because sometimes we have to stop and take a second. Okay, last episode when you thought that I was just smashing Taylor Swift, and I had to be like, no. I think that's where
You what?
Yeah, but we're also able to talk about a miscommunication that we had to create the opposite.
Yes. Yeah, that's true. Money.
10 out of 10, money. Money makes the world go round.
Patreon.
The what?
I had the Patreon. Sorry, I had something in my throat.
The what?
The Patreon.
Oh. We also have 10 out of 10 romantic attraction, which I think is cute.
I think it's cute, but also I'm not like
Me
into
neither.
you. Yeah. Sorry.
Not like that.
Not like that. No.
But actually, okay. Just to take it in the sense that I think that we could very much have a romantic friendship.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
It does. And also I think that if the attraction was there, like if I did like you like that and you did like me like that, we could have a really good and healthy relationship.
Yeah. But like we do sweet things for each other within our friendship. I would say that our friendship is kind of romantic in the sense that we are sweet to each other.
Yeah. Yeah, because I love you so much.
I love you so much.
Yay. But yeah, so that is our compatibility. That's our charts. It's getting kind of sort of into a long podcast, so we're gonna end it here, but thank you guys for listening. Please join the Patreon. Follow us on all of our social media. It's all Lighthouse at the Lakes, except for Twitter, which is just Light at the Lakes, because Lighthouse at the Lakes is too long of a username for Twitter, according to Twitter. And next week we'll be talking about the moon. So we hope to see you all next week with the next podcast.
Yes.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
And thank you.
And thank you. Thank you and good night.